Hello, hello, hello. How are you? How are you? I hope that everything is fine. I have to be honest with you. I do have some issues with my audio, but I do hear that you can actually hear me, which is great enough for me, which is awesome. I will also start some music on the back end in a few seconds. Welcome everyone, welcome, especially if you're new to the show. My name is Petra Verbruggen. Taekwondo is the name of the show, and we create videos surrounding events, and also today we're going to talk about that as well. So we are also going to do that not all by myself. I am actually doing one more last thing before we can really go into the nitty and gritty. And that is, my mistake. Let me see if I can. Yes, there he is. Because I actually do have somebody here as well. Let me make sure that his audio is out as well. And here he is. Boom! There he is. This is Kermit. Kermit is my cat. He is the person that is always by my side in good times and in bad times. But absolutely, today is a good time, especially because, well, you know, Geeks Life or David Foster is in the house. He says, "How is this clickbait? I don't see that at all." I mean, yeah, it is not clickbait at all, right? I mean, I know that I did a little bit of a funny thing on my own personal, well, on my personal page, because. Well, first of all, I wanted to try to do something cool, but also I just wanted to give you a brief history on everything. And I have to admit, one thing is that at this moment I do have an issue with my audio, so that's something that I need to figure out. I am not able to hear any audio internally in this studio. Don't know why, it just happened like 5 minutes ago, but I do know it's my fault because I moved something, so there must be a reason, and the reason must be me, but I don't know what it is. I have to check that. Kermit is definitely not clickbait, although he is a very likable cat. Here he is in all his glory, Jason. He actually looks a little bit like your cat, I think. I'm not sure if you agree with that, but I think that is the fact. So in the next couple of 2 minutes, well, in 2 minutes time, we will start the show. And what I'll do is I'll take you through a brief history of Taekwondo, Music Kondo, and why I am at the place where I am at this moment. Because not everybody knows that, and I want to do this especially because one question that arose this week, and we're going to talk about that question before we start the show officially, because that is really the reason for this well, subject. Hey, what's up, Kathleen? How are you today? Great of you to be here. I actually forgot that I actually still have Kermit on screen, but hey, he's much more of a person to look at as myself, I think. By the way, David, if you're still watching, congratulations, my friend. Happy birthday. Hope that you have a great day, and you know, to take some time, take a little bit of whiskey to enjoy this special occasion, and also say congrats to your brother Philip, who has his birthday. We had his birthday. Was it yesterday? I think it was yesterday. I'm not sure at this moment. Ricky is also in the house. You should do the Hoodle challenge. I have no clue what you mean about this. I have really no clue, but I just welcome Ricky for being here. Oh, the hoodie challenge. The hoodie challenge? Now I can read it. Do I need to go like so then? Like this? Yo. That's not the way that I am. That was a bad thing. Yeah, indeed. For happy birthday, boys, says Kathleen, and indeed, again, happy birthday, David. Congratulations on what? Making it another year. I am 48. Whoa! And yes, it was yesterday. Yeah, well, 48 is a great. I mean, you're only 3 years older than I am, David. So, hey, you're still young in my book. So, all right, let's do it. It's time to go into the next one, and that is this show. And so let's do this. So, what have you been doing? Why are you doing video? And you have so much stuff here. How did you take that? How did you do that? Well, we're going to talk about it in today's Tech Condo. And welcome to the show. Welcome to Tech Condo. My name is Petra Verbruggen, and I will be your host for the coming half an hour or so. And we will be talking about something really cool, which is how did I come to this place where I have my own studio. Before I do, I want to welcome some people. David, Geeks Life, is in the chat. Jason, Kathleen, Ricky, and all kinds of different things about a hoodie challenge. I have no clue what that is all about. I do have a hoodie on, so it might be something like that. But we're going to talk about how I got here, and I need to step a little bit back in time, about 8 years or so. So let's go a little bit further down the road. So 25 years ago, I started something new. I was still at school, and I wanted to do something with my life, and I figured out that I wanted to entertain people, and I loved music. I still love music so much. I mean, Larry, who's also a friend of mine, who's also part of the community, he told us today on the profile page that I also did a quick video. I miss Music Condo. So yeah, Music Condo was before Tech Condo. So that's also one of the hints that I love music. But basically what it boils down to is that I love to entertain people and to want to inform people about, stuff, right? So, so 25 years ago, I started as a technician at the radio station, and gradually over time got my own alternative music show. And I believe about 10, 12 years ago, we started very slowly with what we call web TV, which I don't know if it's even a term, but that's what we started with. And that was basically just 3-minute videos that were on YouTube, and we thought it would be cool. And well, I didn't really think about it that much, but everything changed right before I went to the US for my work, about 2011. So it's not that long ago even, right? With a production that is at the end of the December month, which is about like a charity event where 3 DJs of the radio station went into what we call a glass house, which is a pop-up house in the middle of the center of Venray, where those 3 DJs have to do a marathon radio show for 100 hours without no food. Only drinks are allowed, and it was a really nice event, and we actually did a few episodes of that. The last one is about 4 or 5 years ago now, but it was really cool to do. But all of a sudden, the 7 years ago, 8 years ago, we thought it would be cool to have a show where we could talk every day, like a cafe, like a talk show about the charity. So that's where it all started. So what we did was we all had a DSLR camera, so that was the one that we also used for creating these videos. And we came up with 3 people that were joining to each other, and we created a video, which was the first time that we did that. and it was a multi-camera production, but multi-camera in the sense that it was recorded 3 times, and then after the fact, it had to be downloaded from the camera, edited, and back to YouTube. And the idea was that the recording would start at 4:30 p.m. until 5:30 p.m. Then head over to the studio, do the unloading, do the editing, and the idea was that every evening at 10 p.m. we had our, like 15-minute show about that thing. This is what it looked like. So I have my laptop with me, and I will show it to you what it looks like. So I'll keep the sound low because it doesn't make sense to show you the sound because it's in Dutch. Not everybody can understand it, but it gives you an idea. So I'll start that up and immediately go here so that you can see it. So this is basically what we wanted to do, is like a talk show where we talked about with a person. We had a book, we had a screen where we had a picture of something or someone, which was great. And as you can see, it was really a cool thing, and it was just really something that we wanted to do. But we did learn quite a lot from this. So one of the things that I've learned was that I didn't really like to take a lot of time in editing, and especially in a very small time that we had to get that done, right? So because we only had like, well, basically 3 hours to do everything, and it was back 7 years ago. So that was quite a challenge. So what I've done was that I actually purchased a ATEM switcher from Blackmagic, which you can see on this picture. This picture is, believe it or not, 7 years old, and it still has the DSLR camera, which is on the right hand side, right before the TV, which is there as well. And on the left hand side you see that white camera, which is still one of the most important cameras that I own because I still use it in my show. I have one here on top of this, and the one that you just saw from Kermit, this one is actually the same camera than the one that you saw right here. So that is the cool part, is that you can see that, products still find their way back into the workflow, right? So looking at what we have here is that what you see on this screen, and maybe I can actually go back to another picture. I have too much mouses here. So let's go into this one. So there's a little bit more of a zoom in. So you can see maybe I can, yeah, you can see. So here you have the DSLR, which I still use for taking pictures for the vlogs on techcontent.net. And this is these are 2 screens. So this is what we call the program screen, and that's a preview screen right there. And this whole thing here is a television. The Blackmagic Television Studio, which was a entry-level switcher from Blackmagic, and it was really a good system. And actually, I still use it. Believe it or not, I still use it. Not in the studio, not here, but I still use it if I'm on location and I need multiple cameras and I only have like one output, then I need to do something to get that into one output, and this is really still a good way of doing that. So what do I want to accomplish with this video is to tell you that even though you buy stuff that of like 7-8 years ago, that you can still use it today, and it's a gradual thing, right? So I didn't start in the studio. I actually started very small. Actually, I have a picture of the very first episode, well, what it looked like. So this is the studio, the very first studio that I had. It had 2 cameras. One is now on the screen pointing below, but it actually had two cameras pointing at me sitting at the dining desk, and that was it. I have a kick-ass, I know, I have a kick-ass mixer, audio mixer, which I really enjoy, but basically this is what everything was. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. That's what it all started with. And then, of course, I started to move that around to the music condo setup, which people also still recall, where I'm in the living room talking about music. And basically, this was still the same setup that I have right here. So that setup was still the same for music condo. But everything changed when I got my computer. Oh, wait a sec, before I forget. Next to the recording, I also use the same setup to do events. And I still do that to this day. So for instance, this is a live performance of Luz, who's a friend of mine. She came to the studio, and actually it was a very small room. This is a room where meetings are taking place, but we changed the lights. We did everything we could in our power to make this a beautiful thing, right? And then I also want to show one more thing before I go into my studio, and that's this one. This is at a musical where we are sitting at a desk, and where we switch to musical, and this is still to this day the way that we do it, with exactly this setup. The only difference is that with this setup it goes via the magic of Ethernet and 4G, LiveView Solo, to the studio where I have my streaming PC, and from there on I create like a branding, and I add some graphics and some movies and that kind of stuff. But basically, this is still the way that we still do it today, with 7-year-old stuff. So that just to let you know. And so, but then I wanted, because of my my connections with Geeks Live and Live Streaming Pros, I got, I would say, a virus, the live stream virus, and I wanted to go live every week. But the thing was that this took me 2 hours to set up and 2 hours to break down, and so that was a big challenge. And then I started to purchase some small stuff, and before you knew it, like 4 or 5 years later, I had my studio. But that studio was not the way that it is right now, right? It was actually, believe it or not, well, let me show you this picture first. This was my studio, and you already see a little bit of a thing going on. You actually see that it's roughly the same thing that I have right now. Actually, the camera that you see right there, but it's a black version of it, you can actually still see on my display right there. Do I still use it? Yes, I still use it. Not every week, but I still use it. And everything that I do is based on buying something that I can use for several years and make something really cool of it. Yes, Jason says it's a live stream virus, and that is definitely the case. It is a live streaming virus, and it's a bug we all got. Yeah, I think that's the beauty of it. It is a bug, but it's a beautiful bug. It's a beautiful bug because we use it to be creative and to do some cool stuff, right? But this, believe it or not, this is in my living room. So this was another thing. I borrowed a camera from my dad, and I used this to record myself. He had a Blackmagic production camera, and I only had a Mevo, or one Mevo back at that time, And indeed, my dad sees a guitar because it was music condo, and so I actually wanted to have something with music there as well, right? Um, so yeah, so that's that one. So that was in the living room, and you might think, oh, that's a big chunk. Well, if I show you this one, you'll probably know what I mean. It's not that big. It is not that big at all. This, actually, what you see right here is basically what I still have today. The space that you see right here. The only thing is that the living room right up here. This part is also our studio, but this from the back until all the way to this foam is roughly the same distance that I have in this studio. I'm going to repeat that. This back and this front right here is roughly the same distance as I have today. So you can imagine that this is not a big studio. And yes, I want to make it as big as I can, and I'm really lucky because I purchased these trussings, because those trussings allow me to route all of those cables, making the space that I need smaller than you normally would have. So that is actually an enablement for me to make this a big studio. So that might be something that you have not seen before, that is the case. And to prove to you that this is just a normal regular room, actually this is this room. This is just a normal room. This is where it all started. This is the studio. Of course, we changed quite a lot, but it's still the same studio, and it's not a big room. It's not a big room at all. So what actually happened was that during all of those years, I started with the Blackmagic ATEM switcher. I had two very small cameras, 250 euros. That's the price. One of them is still here. It's still working. Kermit Cam. That's one. The other one I have not switched on today, but it's right here, right there. That's the second one. So I am reusing all of the gear that I already have. The microphone, I already use it for recording live performances. My mixing board, I still use to this day. It's already 9 years old. It's working perfectly. It's a digital one. I know it's brilliant, but I just want to show you that even though this is a big chunk of you know, like a studio, it's actually not this big. And the amount of additional things that I purchased today, well, this year, yes, it is. I mean, I purchased, I think, one camera this year. Last year it was two cameras, but so they're all small parts. And the thing is that you need to do is that you need to figure out what is the best way to come to the end result. And the way that I do it is always say, okay, what do I have now? Where do I want to go? Okay, what is the smallest step that allows me to go there without breaking my bank? And that's the way that I try to mitigate that all the way up to that point. And I want to, so for me, I want to create local events. I love local events. I love to be part of the community. So that's what I want to do with my company. For Techono, I want to show you guys how I do things. I want to you know, hopefully give you some sparkle of creativity for yourself. But I want to, but mostly it's about events. But of course, I will also talk about technology. I mean, next week we'll probably do one of the two things. Maybe I want to go through a behind the scenes with you one more time to show you how I went from basically this to the studio that it is today, because this, sorry about that, that's my back. This is the studio of today. So it is really possible to make it something great of it. Um, Kathleen says, buy good tech, it'll work for you for a long time. Definitely. And I believe it's David who says that if you buy something, you want to buy something which, if your budget is here, you want to actually stretch your budget just a little bit to give you a little bit more leeway. Not to go all the way there, because that's not a good idea, but a little bit more than you actually want to spend on it, and that will definitely make sure that you will have more to do with it, and try to figure out ways to make sure that you have always a way to fall back on something else, right? So for instance, if my streaming system goes down, I pick my live view solo and I just go live from my live view solo. If my live view solo goes down, well, then I just go live on my phone. If this camera goes down, I'll just get that camera for $250. Or I'll ask my dad if I can lend his camera. Try to figure out a way to mitigate that and to make sure that you're able to stay focused and stay doing what the thing that we do. So that was a very short show. Would you like me to have a behind the scenes next week, or do you want me to talk about like top 10 things that you can buy for Christmas, where I'll also do a top 3 if it comes to your studio, if you would like that. So it's top 10 things to buy for the Christmas, where there's also top 3 for maybe something for your studio, and the other thing is to have a behind the scenes of this studio again, to go through everything what I have, so that it helps you. Jason says, one thing I've learned is some tech can be upgraded after it's purchased. It's better to upgrade before you buy. Absolutely. I totally agree with you. Be very careful what you buy, and especially in the video world, there's one thing that I have learned is that don't assume. Check. Make sure that what you think is there is really there. What I mean by that is, for instance, my ATM switcher is a 1080 switcher, so it does HD, but it only does interlaced. You might not know what it is. Don't worry about it if it's too technical, but typically these days you have progressive and not interlaced. So everything you connect to that system needs to be interlaced, which is a big problem. It's not, because not all cameras have that. So that's a limitation to that tech. Other limitation is, for instance, if you have an HDMI cable, it cannot be very long. It might be like maybe 5 meters or so, but it cannot be like 30 feet or something. Well, if you have a fiber HDMI, you might, but not with the normal HDMI that you can purchase in a store. That kind of stuff. Kevin says, always good to have a plan A, plan B, and plan C. That is definitely the case. I totally agree with you. And that is also something that I've learned over the years at the station, that you always need to have a backup plan. And I always try to have one, which is difficult. So for instance, one of the things that I have as a backup plan is that if if Ziggo, which is my my internet provider, has an issue here in this area where there's no internet, I can actually still go live via the live view. I can actually hook up the live view on my computer output so that I can actually stream it via that way. Okay, it's going to be, I cannot do it on YouTube. I can only do it on Facebook at this moment. But hey, the show must go on. That's the most important thing. Thank you so much for your attention. Again, next week it's going to be behind the scenes, or alternatively a top 10. It's also going to be the last episode of this year. That last 2, I want to just take some time off to rethink, do some more stuff with Taekwondo. But next week I will be here for the final episode of this year. That can be a top 10 or behind the scenes, and it's up to you what you think you want. So please let me know, and I hope to see you next week. Thank you so much for your attention. Thank you very much. I hope that you liked it. It's a little bit of a different show, but I think it's important to know that you have to layer complexity. You don't want to purchase everything at once, unless you have a lot of money. But make sure that the purchases that you do enable you to go one step further in the future. Thanks so much. Have a good one. Bye bye.